Do you feel like you're fighting for your child's education more than anyone else in the room? You're told to wait, but you've already been waiting. You're promised assessments, plans and support, but the delays keep piling up. You're left wondering, why is it so hard for a child with individual needs to access an education? What is actually really getting in the way of the support that they need? And how is any parent supposed to drive change when it feels like the odds are against you? And in the middle of it all, you're the one holding on to hope, trying to get ahead of the issues and not just react when a crisis hits. I've been there, especially when it feels that your child is potentially slipping through the cracks. So in this video, I'll walk you through 8 early signs that a child with individual needs may not be having their educational needs fully met. I will explore how these challenges can develop and share examples, and most importantly, highlight how by recognising these signs early can empower us to take informed, confident steps towards supporting our child's educational needs process. My name is Brenda and I'm a mentor and a fellow parent. I support parents raising children with individual needs and differences to stay empowered whilst they navigate through procedural challenges. And as I advocated for my son who is living with autism and ADHD whilst he was in mainstream education, I realised how easy it is to connect the dots after the fact, but when you're in the middle of it, it can feel overwhelming, like you can't see the wood for the trees. Therefore, recognising these red flags, if you will, early is key, whether your child is just starting their educational needs journey or you've been navigating the system for years. Here are the signs to look out for. And the first one is minimising concerns or delaying action. If you've heard unhelpful comments such as, "Oh well, you've got a couple of years yet," or suggesting to wait and see, often replaces the proactive steps that are needed to support your child in real time. When referrals or assessments are delayed or only initiated under your pressure, it can lead to real consequences, such as a sudden drop in confidence, frequent meltdowns after school, or even school refusal. Sometimes when it reaches this point, external agencies are brought in. Even then, in my experience, often met with vague responses such as, "I'm not sure how I can help," or given generic signposting instead of a real solution, regardless of their good intention. And where you find yourself always being the one raising concerns or chasing updates, it could be a sign that your child's progress requires adequate monitoring. Recognising these signs early gives us parents opportunity to act before the challenges escalate, making confident advocacy not just helpful but essential. Another early sign is delayed or inadequate response to a support plan. For those of us whose children are in receipt of a support plan such as an EHCP, there may be long delays with amendments or blank sections. This could be where educators or professionals are unsure of what to include in a plan, or that a plan is only updated after tribunal action. When there are legally binding timescales and deadlines for information to be provided, a lack of timely response or action is a major red flag. If we find ourselves always requesting responses, it may indicate inefficient monitoring of a child's needs. The times where my child's support plan wasn't regularly reviewed or properly followed quickly led to unmet needs. And from experience, recognising these early allows us to intervene before the impact becomes too great, making confident advocacy not just important, but once again essential. Another early sign is a lack of clear, timely communication and guidance. Being in a position where you're given vague, dismissive or generic information, especially when your child has specific needs, can be deeply frustrating. This includes receiving outdated signposting or having no clear point of contact or accountability in the decision-making process. From experience, major issues arise when schools rely on local authorities and local authorities rely on parents. And then no one takes the real initiative, leaving your child stuck without meaningful purpose. And where having clear communication and guidance readily available to use as a working document, it provides a tailored provision and advice that reflects a child's actual need and not just what's available. And by identifying where these are missing early, lets us as parents act on a situation before things worsen. Another early sign to look out for is Parent blaming and emotional fatigue. Being in a position where you're made to feel responsible for, let's say, systematic failures is incredibly disheartening, especially when the focus shifts from supporting your child's needs to raising child protection concerns. And the feeling of being unheard and misrepresented or misunderstood is all too common, and it can take a serious toll on our emotional well-being as parents. And I've explored this in this video here. This is annoying, especially when you know that your child is trying. But when there's little or no progress, especially in subjects such as numeracy, literacy, or social skills, it's deeply concerning, and recognising these signs early reinforce just how important advocacy really is. Another sign to look out for is when legal resources become the only option. When assessments and support plans are persistently denied, only to be overturned, let's say through tribunal, ombudsman's rulings, more legal complaints, it reveals a troubling pattern. I've learned that it forces many parents to become experts in legal processes just to secure basic support for their child's education. And being in a position where help only arises through escalating a concern is emotionally, financially and mentally exhausting. I mean, in situations like this, it would be nice to be treated as partners in our child's education and not as adversaries, as all we want to know is that our child is safe and seen and supported. And this is why speaking up confidently isn't just helpful, it's essential. And another early sign is where there are gaps in specialised support and transitional planning. A lack of a suitable school placement can leave a child out of education for extended periods at a time. And when there's no planning for transition or next steps, despite a clear and pressing need, that only generic information is provided instead of tailored support, a child is left in limbo. And I don't know about you, but as a parent, you want to be in a position where there is an understanding of the mechanics of how transition planning works and what options are truly available, not just in theory, but in practice. So poor communication between sectors and unclear processes around transition or specialist placements often mean children fall through the cracks. Some are out of school for months, even years, while others are penalised for needs that are going unmet. Recognising these signs early can help prevent serious setbacks, and that's why advocating for clarity and confidence isn't just valuable, but vital. So if you're experiencing any of these setbacks and you feel that working with a one-to-one mentor will be actually helpful, why not contact me? The information is in the description box below. And another sign is assuming that mainstream education is always best. When there's a resistance to exploring specialist provision, even when it's clear that mainstream education isn't suitable, it raises real concerns. And this is often coupled with negative assumptions about a child's behaviour or even a parent's approach, rather than a genuine effort to support and meet a child's individual needs. Behaviour policies can create barriers, especially when support is conditional and only offered if a child behaves in a certain way. And I explore this in depth in one of my other videos. Seeking tailored support is not just about ticking boxes. It opens the door to provisions that truly reflect your child's needs, not just what's readily available. And with everything else, noticing these signs early gives us the opportunity to take the steps before things become overwhelming. And the last early sign that I'm going to share in this video is evidence of discrimination and resource shortfalls. When services aren't grounded in up-to-date research, or when provisions are withdrawn without clear reason or justification, the support offered becomes inadequate. For example, if a team fails to recognise a key aspect of your child's condition, or if a new team is introduced because of a change in legislation or departmental adjustment, and you've been told that it will take longer to implement support to accommodate for these changes, it puts your child at a disadvantage before your child's even had the chance. Too often, those with a duty of care delay decisions, avoid accountability, or only act when forced to. Meanwhile, as parents, we're left to navigate complex systems with no or little guidance or support. Recognising this early gives us the opportunity to step in before things become overwhelming, because these 8 early signs are not just warning flags, they're actually opportunities. Opportunities to pause, reflect and take meaningful steps before the situation becomes complex and harder to reverse. And as parents, we often find ourselves in roles we never expected to hold, whether that's advocate, case managers, experts, negotiators, all while trying to protect the joy and well-being of our children. And we don't need to have all the answers to start asking all the right questions. So if this video resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So please share in the comment section. But for now, keep doing what you're doing, stay focused, stay empowered, and keep creating progress. Thank you for listening.